Hello, welcome to another virtual water cooler live. My name's Steve, and this is my little piece of the LinkedIn ecosystem that I show up every week at. It is always daunting. It's funny, I've been doing this for well over a year now. Started with audio uh, drop-ins and met a few interesting people through the audio connection as well, just sort of almost like a radio show type setup. The downside with LinkedIn is that you can't record audio. The audio lives weren't recordable, so people couldn't watch them on a replay. So I moved to bit the bullet and turned on the camera and started doing them as a video drop in live. So there's an opportunity to rewatch. They go all over the place. There's no agenda, which actually makes it even more interesting. And I meet some fascinating people like this amazing lady that is about to join me here. Great segue into bringing Margaret into the room.
How are you, my friend?
I said that again.
I said, how are you?
Oh, good. Got the sound there. Yes, I am well. I am well. I've had a busy week already. I can't believe it's Wednesday. I was actually trained. I was in some training Monday and Tuesday. I had to go down to London on Sunday. So, you know,
Were you being trained, or did you train somebody?
I was being trained. I was being trained. So,
Another what?
well, it's interesting. I work as a researcher. It's some of these programs that are being conducted on behalf of government to sort of inform policy. So there's a whole team of interviewers and researchers that go out and inquire from the general public as to their views and opinions on things. So
Is it views and opinions in general, or is it a specific need?
in specific, there's various projects run by different departments. NHS does one with a health kind of survey. This one was with the Department of Transport. So it's around how people move around. And in the UK, it's unfortunate we spend so much time in cars. We do the majority of our travel in a vehicle.
I think that there's, for me, an interesting element there. It gives autonomy. Whereas public transport, you have no control, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
If it pitches, wonderful, we'll jump on board.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, you kind of lost,
Yes, and that's. I mean, having lived in London, born and bred in London, where you public transport is just a given. You literally you fall over yourself, and there's something to take you somewhere. And if black cabs in London, in central London, you just stand on the corner and you get it. Same in certain very big urbanized spaces. And then I moved to San Diego, and San Diego is a very busy city center, but very poorly supported with public transport. It's awful. Yeah, a 15-minute. I had a doctor's appointment, and I don't know why I didn't have my car, but I thought, well, you know what? I know where it was. I thought I'll just jump on the tram and by the time I took the bus and the tram and the second tram and I walked, it was a good hour and a half to what was a 15-minute car ride, a 10-minute car ride. It was absolutely crazy. So for people whether it's the community you live in, or the socioeconomic band that you're in, or the ability to be able to get to a place where even if you could drive, you couldn't park. So that becomes another thing.
And it highlights one of my favorite things that I work with people on, and that is the management of resources. And resources for me are not only time and money and the physical things, but it's actually one's state of mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
That if finding parking becomes an issue, then one makes a plan to use public transport. If there's no reliable public transport, you make a plan with the car,
Yeah. Yeah.
One's always kind of, strategically working out which is going to be the most effective way to proceed.
Yes, and it's like I said, I agree. I agree with the degree of autonomy that having your own vehicle. I live in Lancaster. When I moved to Lancaster, I had a bicycle, and I loved it. I lived
Yeah.
in town, and it was just easy to get around by bike. And then as you get older, the hills got steeper for some reason. I don't know how that happens. They got steeper and steeper, and then a car certainly gives me a lot more freedom in that
Yeah.
respect. Although it comes at a cost. All those sorts of things come at a
Everything.
cost as well.
Everything. I stopped driving 8 years ago,
Mm,
and I miss what I enjoyed about driving. That
Yeah.
sort of being able to be in a car and sort of
Yeah.
do your thing.
Yeah.
But for the rest, do I miss it? I miss the convenience, obviously.
Mhm.
But I've made a plan about other ways of doing things.
Yes, yeah, and that kudos to you for that, because that is the point. That is the point of agency, is the ability to
Pivot.
make the resources work. Like you said, it's not just time or money or even energy, but just all of those combined are resources. And if one is compromised, for example, you don't have a vehicle to just jump in every minute to go somewhere, then you
Make a plan.
find other you find other resources. And actually sometimes it's refreshing not to. It's refreshing to kind of constrain one of those resources, either by design or unfortunately, if a circumstance is forced on you. You break a leg and you can't drive, and then
Yeah,
now
sure.
people have to drive you, or that might be a nice thing. People actually want to say, can I help you? And then you say, yeah, I need a lift. And now you've actually encouraged other people in a tangible way to help. And so other things come up. I always find other things come up. It's the whole
Almost all
lemon and lemonades thing, isn't it? Life gives you lemons.
I was going to say, here both of us sit. Nothing in life has prevented us from being here,
Mm.
and we've done a wide variety of things before getting here, and we'll do another wide variety of things after leaving here.
Yes, very, very true, very true. So yes, appreciate your wisdom on that, Margaret. How's your week been?
My
What have you
week
been
has
up to?
been very, very interesting.
Mm.
I actually want to dispose of my present accommodation and move closer to Heather for many
Okay.
sort of, practical reasons.
Yeah.
And so the most important thing is that finding the right person to handle the negotiation.
Mm.
So this week we set up, with the help of a very dear friend, set up a string of appointments to kind of vet and decide who am I going to actually employ to do this job for me.
Okay. So,
And
if
but apart from that, work-wise, one never stops really. If I'm not actually physically doing coaching, then I'm learning something, because it's in Clifton Strengths terms. I can't stop myself. I'm always wanting to learn. And if I were to give up work tomorrow, which I'm not proposing to do, I would just go and learn something else.
Mhm. I mean, that's sometimes people see that as a cost to bear. They can't wait. They can't wait to get out of the rat race, or can't wait to put their feet up. And
Not
I know,
never been my thing.
yeah, I just there's so much research in that in the dangers of that. Oh, I can't wait to sit down, stay in my house, and it's like, dude, that's a recipe. That's just That's just a coffin without it's a rut. It's a rut, right? You get yourself in a rut. It's basically a coffin with the ends knocked out. But you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you jump in the rut, and then bit by bit the sand gets shoveled on top of you.
Very true. Great to see Paul in the chat there. I hope he can join us. He was just sharing that Hawaii is probably not one of the best public transportations. But again, it's a beautiful island. I mean, I've been to Maui and Kona, and
Have you?
yeah, and they're beautiful spots of the world. But yes, if you I was there for events, so I was very cloistered in terms of how people move around the island or the islands. But yeah, same in Jamaica. I mean, it's one of those
Really?
things where there's infrastructure to get you from a major town town to town. But within that town, the last mile is an absolute it's an absolute nightmare. You got to walk it, or it becomes a real pain. Flip side, Cambodia, or Phnom Penh, at least anyway, total everything. I mean, there is you literally you fall over transportation.
Really?
The tuk-tuk and the Grab network of that gig economy of getting people to places. They've got it locked down. It's
amazing.
It's so nice. You literally, forget having a mobility scooter. You literally walk out your door and there's somebody to take you to wherever you want to get to.
Fantastic.
The app is fast. As soon as you've booked it, they're down. You literally, I was visiting my daughter and she's in an apartment, and by the time you don't book the Grab until you're ready to go.
Right.
And literally she's down in the elevator and the person's outside waiting for her to take her.
But that's effective use of resources though, isn't it?
It is so refreshing. It is, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's not even, because you say Cambodia, and a first world country would call it second world, but in some aspects, it works. It just works. Traffic is a bit of a nightmare. That's why everyone's on a moped.
Right.
But at the same time, even with the congestion, even with the frenetic nature of moving around the town, it never felt threatening. It never felt offensive. No one's beeping their horn to get you out of their way because they've got to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Everyone's just making their way to where they need to go.
Amazing.
And that was refreshing.
I can imagine.
Yeah, we get stuck behind one slow driver, and all of a sudden our blood pressure's gone through the roof. Let alone, we hit a roadworks. I mean, I was like, oh, good. All bets are off at that point. Hello, Annie. Great to see you jumping in there. If you want to, I'll share the link in the messages. Where am I here? I'll put a message in there. Jump on the link and come and join us. Me and Margaret, we're just chatting here. This is the water cooler on a Wednesday afternoon. And we're talking travel, but I guess that this is interesting because everything we talk about ends up becoming a life lesson, right? We can't help it, Margaret.
And I think that's the desire to learn from experience.
Yeah.
And, it's so easy for us to reject certain experiences because they don't suit us, or because we feel, hard done by, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if we choose, we can always find something that actually advances our understanding of life in general in one way or the other.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Annie's asking how to join. I've just put the link in the thread to the show. Let me send it. I can message you directly, Annie, and get it on there. But yeah, what you're saying there, Margaret, is so true, because everything ties into we're at the center of our lives, right? We're at the center of our worlds. So whatever happens around us is being filtered by us.
Absolutely.
So attitude and mindset are definitely the
Mhm.
key, definitely the key focuses here. I'm just going to stick this in the chat for. Sorry, I'm distracted a little bit here. Just send it to
Yeah, you go
Annie.
for it.
Yeah.
I'm very happy gazing into space and thinking.
And you know what, we could um life is too life can be sometimes too frenetic, you know, and it's and I say that in a sense that it can be frenetic because it's put on us sometimes. I lean
But we
into things.
allow it. We
Yes,
allow
I was going to say. I do let things get to me when they shouldn't necessarily get to me. And Annie's found the link, and she's here. Oh, this is so great.
Hi, hi, Annie. How are you?
Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Now we
Oh,
can.
fab.
fantastic. I've got to start by saying, how are you feeling? Are you on the
Oh,
mend?
God, I have just been the sickest I've ever been in my whole 65 years on this planet, but I'm
Oh,
better, much,
good.
much better. I had a chest and lung infection. It was quite serious.
Wow.
But I'm, climbing out of it. The voice is almost back to full strength. But I was
Yes.
just out of it for probably 6 weeks.
Oh my goodness. Oh well, welcome. I say welcome back. You haven't, yeah. I mean, it's glad to see you on the other side of the challenge.
Yes. Nice
Yeah,
to
that's
see you. I haven't actually. I've been meaning to kind of touch base with you for ages, and it's just as I said. I mean, everything just literally collapsed off the
yeah,
radar for weeks. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm fine. I'm back. I'm back.
yeah. Amen, amen. Well,
To be
this is
celebrated.
yeah. The Tuesday mornings have been challenging because of some work commitments that have pulled me out during the day. But I've still I still manage to sort of carve out whatever I'm doing in the day to try and get this little spot, this little 4:30 spot on a Wednesday
Yeah,
carved out. I send out invites to people on my list. It's interesting when you send out invites to people I looked at the invites, I'm thinking, oh, I haven't spoken to this person for a decade, 15 years, 12 years, 4 years, But I send them out because when I do the invites, I literally look through the list, and it's again to the thing about allowing stuff like Margaret was talking about. We let things. Life can be frenetic if we allow it. And that looking through the list just allows me to have that little thought about the person. It's almost like a mini prayer. It's like, oh, I hope they're doing well.
yeah,
This may not be their platform. They may not have any interest. They may hate my guts. Um, I, I mean, all of these scenarios are possible, but
Yeah.
just seeing their name pop up on a list that I'm inviting to this drop in, actually, I feel good for it.
I
I feel
hate
like,
you, Steve. I'm only here to put faces at you.
you're that's just the first line of another book, right?
I actually didn't
She
hear
pulled it.
exactly what you said there, Annie.
She hates my guts, and she's here to pull faces at me. That's the start. That's the start of a great little short story right there.
Shall I write it or will you?
Well, actually, I read your piece about was it your doctor's appointment and your parking and the parking meter
Oh, yeah.
and
It's hard to believe that day was like it was, but it actually was.
Absolutely, Paul. Invite, don't insist. That's very true. We got to invite things into our lives and don't insist on them. Very,
I didn't
very
invite any of what happened that day into my life. It all started with the cow.
That's it.
Which you didn't invite, did you?
I have a dear friend. Is a longtime coach, known him 30 plus years, and I even forgot what I was going to say now about that. Yes, invite, don't insist. I remember whenever we used to hang out, I met him in the UK. I worked with him in the US, and he lived not too far from me in California, and we met up, and I don't know, something happened during the day, and it was just like a dramatic day. It wasn't dangerous or anything, but just like, everything was kind of disrupted. And he said to me, whatever happens, never waste the opportunity to make it into a great seminar story. so
That's an optimist speaking.
Yeah, well, yes, it's where you look. It's exactly where you look.
Yeah.
He has a great story about, he used to race race cars or motorcycles, and I remember one of his stories, because I actually was able to do a NASCAR style race around a track. Well, it wasn't a race, it was basically a day out. You actually drove NASCAR cars. So it's the fastest I've ever driven a car, 140 miles an hour on the straight.
And you were given permission.
I give him permission. You were given some training, and then you went out onto this thing. And it's funny because you don't change gears on the track. You're in your top gear by the time you leave the pit. So you're not changing gears, and you've got the proper headset and they call it a hands unit, which basically means that your head is locked into position. It's got a neck brace, and you can look this far down, this far to the left, and this far to the right, and that's it.
Was
you
it
can
scary?
see the instruments. Sorry?
Was it scary?
It was not. It was the most concentrated driving I've ever done, because you got a 5-point harness in this vehicle that's got nothing inside it except a cage. There's nothing to look at. There's no music to play. You got the guy in the tower in your headset telling you, whether to move up the lane or down the lane, let someone pass you, and so on. And you are just focused on the track. You look at the flag at the corner where the hairpin kicks in, and you aim for that flag. And when you hit the flag, you come off the gas a little bit, take the curve, and then once you clear the flag, you can belt it, and then you go down the straight.
That sounds like fun.
It was the most fun. I'll share some pictures. It was the most fun. But the point is that you look at where you're going. And there's a lady in the training that said, she was so annoying. She said, "Oh, what if you need to change gear?" And the man says, "You don't need to change gear." She goes, "Well, what if I get too close to the other vehicle? The other cars on the track." So you won't. Well, what if I hit the wall?
Oh, bless her, she was just anxious. I would be probably the same. I would be the irritating person on the day.
I call it's a disease called what-if-itis.
What-if-itis? Yeah. Well, it's great to be aware of the risks, but if you're not looking for the way through, if you're not navigating the way through something, and if you're navigating on the basis of what you need to avoid, then you're never striving for what you want. The goal was to have fun on the track, listen to the instructions, follow the instructions, because you're talking to people who know this thing in and out, and it's their careers, livelihoods, and equipment are on the line. So if they tell you something, it's worth listening. Yes, like you'll always get whatever you focus on. So the goal was to have fun, get around the track, and get speed out of your system, right? So it was absolutely.
Does one ever get speed out of one system?
That's true. Well, for the I don't know, hour and a half or so that we were driving around this track. But it's funny because people drive. I drive nowadays, and unfortunately, full disclosure, I could be on my phone, sort of listening to a voice message. I could have the music on, and I'm tapping the steering wheel, or I'm thinking about something else, while I'm navigating traffic. And our cars are so luxurious now and so easy to drive that it actually invites distraction, because the driving isn't hard anymore.
Mental note to self: don't get in a car with Steve.
I'll be so busy chatting to you, Annie. Don't
No, never come and pick me up.
There we go. That's another first line of a story, right? So I pulled up outside.
You inspire me so much. You just make me laugh. It's fabulous. It's just what I've needed for so long.
But yeah, so what like Paul says, you'll always get whatever you focus on. Unfortunately, sometimes we spend so much time looking for the things to avoid that becomes the focus.
It's one of the main laws of physics, isn't it? You collide with what you focus on.
It's Newton's second law talks about motion. Whatever's in motion stays in motion. And if you're not in motion, something has to act on you to get you into motion.
Yeah.
So if you're still, then something's going to act on you,
push you
to make you move. If you're in motion, then something's going to act on you to slow you down or change your direction. And inertia is a big thing as well. We want to get moving, but we feel it's too much work to start, and therefore it's easy just to stay where you are, because inertia is a real, I'm gonna say a bitch, but I just said it. It's a bitch.
It's the twin to apathy, isn't it? It's the apathy's twin, and apathy, the world will choke to death on its apathy.
Yes.
And
there's another storyline.
The world choking on apathy.
I always think about something. A mentor told me about.
90% not being real and 10% being out of our control.
It's pretty depressing.
I guess I'd have hoped there was a little bit of maybe give me a 2% to do something.
I would like to have 1 or 2% that I did have some over.
I do think we don't have to take it absolutely.
Yes, I think he's got some point. Yeah.
He's rounding up. I am deeply suspicious of him.
So what were you going to say? You were going to say something, Annie?
No, I just did.
Oh.
Yeah. No, you carry on. You were talking about traffic when I barged in.
Oh, no, that's fine. But to your point about apathy, that's an interesting one, because without necessarily getting political, our society is moving in a place where we feel like it's okay to be apathetic.
That's going to be what stops anything from getting better. The fact that people won't stand up. I've been saying for months now, we need a revolution, and I'd be part of it. My mother, before my mother married my father, she used to make bombs. And she taught me how to make a Molotov.
That's a great book too.
That's the start of a very good novel.
It's an ammunitions factory, and she taught me how to make a Molotov cocktail. So I said, well, I'll be part of the revolution. I'll just set up a table in my kitchen and make the cocktails.
Not for drinking.
Oh, absolutely not. No. I won't say what I would use them for, because that is political, but yeah. But it's true. I mean, it is easier to be apathetic, because I think that the problems out there in the world, no matter what they are, whether they're political or otherwise, I think they just feel so big that people by themselves feel that they can't make a difference to that.
Yeah.
So there's no point in trying.
Yeah.
And it's like herd mentality. We're all thinking the same way now.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, that is a generalization, and I know that there are people within that context that aren't just content to be sheep. But again, it goes back to this notion of having not enough power to make a change.
I think that we've drunk enough of the Kool-Aid to think that apathy is a lack of effort, as opposed to as opposed to apathy nowadays is actually sometimes in some ways by design. There are things that are working very hard to make other parts of community society apathetic.
Yeah, agreed.
So whether that is, I mean, I'm off the age where my first phone, all you could do is punch in numbers, and it was an LED or display, not even LCD. It was, the little light up bars on the thing. And if someone told me back then that you'd have a phone that you could talk to, I'd have kicked them out. That's all sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen. You talk to a phone. What do you mean? When you don't have numbers, you don't have buttons on the thing. How can you use a phone without buttons, without an antenna?
Yeah. And where would we be now without that technology? We're so used to it. It's like the idea of going backwards is absolutely catastrophic, isn't it?
Yes. So I think there are things in place. There are things in play that are creating apathy in other parts of society. It's easier to just sort of have a distraction. Don't look over here. Look over here. Right. Or flood the zone whereby you get so much, you're so inundated, you check out because it's just too much. Yeah.
But I do think also that, the media directs our attention unless we deliberately make the decision to actually step away and say, I don't want to get involved with that.
Yep.
Because progress is going to happen. I mean, you talk about the phone, Steve. I am old enough to remember that we got the first actual telephone in the house. And none of us was allowed to touch it because my father was a doctor. And if the phone rang, it was going to be to do with his business. So we were not allowed to touch it.
Had a phone that you couldn't use.
I mean, today's world, you think, what?
I would love to. I mean, I visit people and so few people have landlines nowadays, let alone, back in the day. And again, this is nostalgia now. I remember sort of having to go rushing home to wait for a phone call.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Or rushing home to make a phone call. And then you get home and you realize someone else is on the phone. And you go, oh, come on, hurry up.
Well, I grew up in the country in New Zealand and we had what we called a party line.
Oh, yes.
And it was like 6 or 7 different houses in the area that were all attached to party line. And you had your own individual ring. So if it rang twice, it was for the next door neighbor. If it rang 4 times, it was for you. But, there was always a bit of a fight to use it because whenever you wanted to use it, someone was already on it. And you could just pick up the phone and listen to their conversation.
Nothing stopped you.
Nothing was sacred or private back then. And I remember my first real job was a telephone and emergency services operator at the post office. And I used to listen in on people's conversations regularly because out of boredom as much as anything else. It was terrible that I did that, but we just did it, But nowadays, you just it's all so different. I mean, everybody's got a phone now, even teenagers, and you try to take their phone away and it's an absolute meltdown of every precaution. So
you're better off removing a digit than you are removing the phone.
Absolutely. I mean, less grief overall.
Yeah, they'll give you their pinky finger before they give you the phone. It is crazy. But like, I just wanted to, Paul talked about, humanity being desensitized, which is really, I think that's really that's the sort of the nefarious side of things, whereby there is someone benefits by our desensitization. And it becomes hard to reconcile that. There's a guy I'm in someone's thread. And there's I won't mention his name because I'll get his name wrong, but he posted something about the event, the economic forum, the World Economic Forum, and the Davos event in Switzerland, where I guess it was kind of overshadowed by the whole Greenland, Denmark thing and the US. And then, but I think people stayed there, and there was a lot of big big thinkers or big organizational thinkers talking about, world economics. And there was a book, I think there's a book being published by, is it Gartner? I don't think it's Gartner. It's one of the major, someone's going to help me with that one, but it's one of the major consulting firms talking about how the last century we've come so far from 1920s in terms of the state of the world and how things have generally got positive in many aspects. I guess there's statistically less hunger, although you'd argue this
depends where you are, I suppose.
Thank you. It's so true. But and then sort of technology moving, the I guess the economic and maybe even the socio-political aspects of the world from the 20s, which is, I guess, it's post World War One, pre World War II, and the whole movement through, I guess, the World War II, Vietnam for the US, or the Cold War, the whole US Russia thing. And we've gone through lots of things in this last century, and they were putting out the proposal that come 2123, I mean 100 years or so from now, that they'll kind of sort of future pacing, envisioning what the future would be like in the next 100 years. And it's interesting because we're sitting at the cusp of a technology that could either make or break us totally. Forget
the world still exists then.
Yes, forget the Industrial Revolution or the information age.
Yeah.
Y2K. I remember Y2K.
We're terrified.
And we made it through COVID. COVID was an interesting world-shaking event.
What amazes me about COVID is how quickly everybody's forgotten it and moved on from it. Even just a couple of weeks ago, just trying to get into an elevator that was actually jammed full of people, and everybody's forgotten that it's still out there and still capable of doing enormous damage to people. But it's really incredible how short people's memories are for something so catastrophic that brought the whole world to a standstill. We've just moved on as if it never happened.
Margaret.
Yes, what I wanted to say is that, when we hit a roadblock, whatever form it may take, we are, as human beings, inventive enough to find a way around the roadblock. And one of the great lessons I learned from Carl Jung was that virtually everything in life has both and, is that it will have positive and it will have negative aspects attached to it.
Yeah.
And there's almost nothing in life that will not have that both and quality.
Yeah.
And we have the choice to make a decision as to whether we want to go with the positive or, be terrified by the negative and go into immobility. It's that. Yeah. And it's one of the great things that we as human beings have is choice.
Yeah. Choice. I always make the distinction between choice and options. Choice is the will to select between the options presented to you.
Exactly.
And I do love what you said about the both and. We can easily go down the path of looking at all of the rose-colored glasses options of something, or we can sit there and doom and gloom the tar out of it and never move. Yeah. And I think both of those extremes don't serve us, because we'll, on the positive side, we'll be naive to the risks, and on the negative side, we'll be immobilized by the fear.
Yeah, and literally unable to experience joy.
Yes. Oh, wow. I mean, that comes into what Paul was saying about humanity, right? I mean, if the thing is, why do we move as people, as humans, towards something or away from something?
You know, that's, again, it gives rise to so much. It's almost like an explosion in my head.
It's like a full day seminar, that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
One of the things I often ask in certain coaching circumstances is to say, people have made a choice. Is it because you're running away from something or going towards something?
Yeah.
Because that makes such a difference in terms of how we handle the journey.
And I think that's a really important question to ask, because we're all so reactive. We're all just functioning as best we're able in what is quite a dysfunctional culture in a lot of ways. And a lot of people have no idea why they're doing something. They've no idea whether or not they're running away or running towards something, because if you try and get them to quantify what it is they want, most people are generally fairly woolly about it, aren't they? They don't actually hone in and actually make that distinction between, oh, I just want to be happy, or I want to do this, and that, which will make me happy. And we're just drifting. I think a lot of people are drifting to something or away from something without being conscious of the fact.
And it comes back to the Newton's second law, I guess, in terms of if the body is at rest, it requires a force acted upon it to make it move.
Yeah.
And that inertia sometimes it's a lot more force to get something moving than it is to keep it moving.
Yeah.
And
my dog would agree with that when she tries to get me out of bed in the morning. She's dragging me. It's like, God, you're so heavy. Come on.
There you go.
By the same token, if I'm lying in bed and I don't want to get up and I can hear the cat in the hallway about to be sick, nothing gets me out of bed faster.
Quicker. There we go. And that's another thing. Sometimes we need to be pulled rather than pushed.
Yeah.
Compelled in some way.
But you know, the magic is that all of these lie in the field of possibilities.
Yes.
And at some point, we need to choose between all the possibilities that are out there.
Yes.
And sometimes we choose almost in an unconscious way.
Yeah.
And that ability to really be mindful, and it's for me one of the ways of understanding the whole movement of mindfulness.
Yeah.
Is that we mindfully make choices as opposed to get pushed by others or others' opinions or what the news is telling us or whatever, you know.
Yeah. And the reason I mentioned and that's true. And the reason I mentioned inertia being a lot stronger force to get us from being static to mobile, for example, is that the loudest noises in our world are the ones that get us to move. And unfortunately, joy is not a loud sound. When I think of joy, I don't think of it being, I think of it being deeply enriching as opposed to being a massive noise, a massive element.
Yes, it's a very intrinsic thing. It's not something that you can quantify as an entity.
Yes, it's going to a theater of an amateur dramatic performance of something that's really moving, rather than me going to the latest blockbuster movie. It hits differently. Joy hits differently. And unfortunately, joy doesn't hit in the way that the algorithm likes. The algorithm likes fear and drama and big noise.
All of the things that are being fostered in the world, it's like no one talks about joy. Everyone talks about gloom and doom and catastrophe and nuclear war. And, and I think you're right, Margaret, when you say that the press leads us to look at certain things and diverts our attention away from what's a lot more important and intrinsic. And there is so much of that we actually, I think we forget how to tap into those good things, how to find those intrinsic things. And someone says, what gives you joy? You've actually got to think about it.
And, you know, if I may, one of, you know, my most recent sort of qualifications was in physical intelligence. And that is how through movement we can alter our internal biochemistry.
Yeah, because it's so closely connected.
Joy is a cocktail of particular chemicals within us, and we can actually manufacture them at will. The big thing is to know how.
Yeah.
And one of the sad things that is happening in today's world is we spend so much time sitting, gazing at a screen, as we're doing right now.
Right now.
And, you know, we need to actually physically move in order to keep things moving around the body, you know, to heighten the feel-good biochemicals and allow them to overtake and be supreme in terms of the others.
Yeah.
And it includes things like, you know, even as women, we all have testosterone, you know, to a greater or lesser extent. And we can manage the testosterone, which is aggression, of course, you know, it's one of the things as testosterone shows up, by modulating. I mean, and it's simple. If I said to you right now, if I sang to you, would you get up and dance? Would you? Well, you might be embarrassed, but I can tell you, I can almost guarantee.
I like that.
I thought you were going to dance because you didn't want to show us.
I thought he just ran off. Tempted to myself.
There is, and he said there is such a I mean, there's a direct holistic connection between movement
Yes.
and our well-being, and we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and part of that creative process is for us to not just be in the world as a human being, but we have to be a human doing.
Yes.
And you know, and again, with all these things come full circle. It's the apathy in our motion, in our movement. You know, well, it's easy to sit. I can sit in this. You make the chair comfortable enough, and you make the screen just the right resolution, and you make the keyboard just the right angle, and you could easily be sitting in that same spot for 8 hours straight, without, you know, unless you need to go restroom break or something.
The ergonomic world has a lot to answer for.
Yes, keeping us there, and then the inertia kicks in, right? Do I get up and take a walk, or do I go downstairs and get something, or do I go upstairs and get something? Those things kick in, and it comes back to mindfulness as well. I think part of the mindfulness movement is part of it is stopping still to pay attention. Absolutely.
Well, it's interesting because I'm running a workshop next Tuesday about mindful language that resonates, and it's about, you know, how to reach your target audience or your target market and get them to connect with you in ways that work for them, because we all think about it in terms of what we can provide and being this, that, and the next thing to people. But, you know, in the process of that, we miss the mark in our communications because we're not concerned enough about how what we say or what we write for people actually does land with them, and how making just a few small changes can make all the difference. And it's mindfulness, not in the kind of woo-woo meditation sense. It's just being thoughtful about, you know, I mean, we think anything before we say it. They are thoughts before they become words, and it's just taking that extra beat, and that's what that's all about. But see, one of the things that bothers me about the whole mindfulness movement is that it's becoming one of those hackneyed, overused phrases. And then when you say mindfulness to people, they immediately think woo-woo meditation, sitting in a corner, you know, or standing on your head in a corner in some weird yoga pose. There's so much more to it than that, but I fear that it's getting lost in the overuse of the phrase. And I was in a different workshop earlier today where we talked about, you know, the use of language, and it just seems to me that it's a bit unfortunate that there aren't enough words that we can substitute to make the distinctions And that even if we did, it would only be a matter of time before they become overused and hackneyed as well. So I think it's a real battle to actually be able to say what you mean and get people to understand it. So that kind of goes full circle too.
And as a creative, in the wordsmiths space, as a writer, that is so true. I mean, I think we're losing the art of nuance.
Yeah.
We actually, I remember reading something probably a couple of years back now that talked about the lack of new vocabulary. We're using fewer and fewer words.
Mm.
And it was interesting. I think the article was in the aspect of someone being a polyglot, learning multiple languages.
Yeah.
And it was surprising how few words, how small a vocabulary in a foreign language you need to master to have a conversation in that language.
Yeah.
Which speaks to the it's not dumbing down. It's just that we are not making the effort to invite nuance in a conversation. We'll just use the words to get the point across, and then we hope the other party gets it because we just said, "Do you know what I mean?"
Well, I've
blah,
got
blah,
dictionary. I've got a dictionary packed away in a box somewhere that's big enough to act as a doorstop. It's like that. And it's not a new one. You know, these words have existed for centuries in some cases, but you're right. I mean, we hear so little and we read even less of what's available. And it's a tragedy.
Yeah. Margaret.
Yeah, one of the things that I have, sort of thought for a very long time is our basic education system teaches us that you've got to be right, because if you're not right, then you're actually useless as a human being. I mean, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but I can remember that. So we didn't experiment much in our early learning, which is, I think, part of being a child, is to experiment and to learn, not only from our own experience, but from what we observe around us. And this education system that says you only get, an A grade pass if you know all the answers and you've got it absolutely.
Yeah.
And life is not absolute.
Well, I think it's hard for creative people to live within that structure and still feel that they can be creative. And I think it's only, we see an absolute explosion of creativity coming out of older people, men and women. Yeah. And I think they just get to that point where they realize that there is more to life than being correct and having all your I's crossed and your T's dotted. Everything comes back to that in terms of what we've learned. But it's stifled so many people from giving their creative endeavor to the world, and the world's worse off for that.
Absolutely. And it's funny what you say there, Margaret, in terms of I'm of an age where a lot of my schooling was about being right. And that's your measure. And it's funny that today you can go to AI platforms and it will give you an answer and it will tell you that it might be wrong and you will still accept it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It will literally every platform when it interfaces with you and gives you an answer, it has in the small print that please check, because that I could be mistaken or it could be wrong or it could be incorrect.
Yeah.
So
very interesting.
I couldn't do an exam that way. I couldn't write an essay and say at the bottom of the essay,
I might be wrong. Imagine that. There goes your A grade.
The thing is, the irony is that is how, I've got adult children now. If I was raising school-age children today, I would want to ingrain that into them, that it's not the output, trusting the output is correct, as much as understanding and learning the process to get there. And the process to get there is actually in many ways more valuable than the output that you get, because you can always put the output back into an input. Right. But if you don't know how to get there,
it's also teaching discernment.
Yes.
But
that
we
can
all
evaluate.
left school decades ago. It's 50 years almost since I left school. But what surprises me and what dismays me actually is how much in that half a century they haven't realised that kids still need to be taught that they're not being taught.
Yes, it's true. The next 100 years, I mean, school was built to produce workers, factory workers, I guess, initially. It fueled the industrial complex, right? It was that's why you have a 9 to 5 or 9 to 4, because that's how the world worked. And in terms of, I mean, I remember the hoo-ha and bringing a calculator into a class, into a exam. It's like, what? A calculator? Slide rule, baby, slide rule.
What happened to mental arithmetic?
Yeah. Yes, 12. Yeah, I still love my 12 times table. So that's about it, really.
Yeah, I think we all learned that, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we used to sing it almost.
I still stumble over the 11s. The rest is fine.
Oh, you just split the number and put them in the middle. So
I have to think about that.
No, separate the two numbers and then put the sum of the two numbers in the middle. And it's funny because even that to explain a technique as a quote unquote hack actually is better learning than the rote learning of the times table. Yeah. But again, kids don't learn the rote method, and I don't even know if they learn techniques, because again, it's a matter of getting through an exam. Yeah, it's reaching a bar, an arbitrary bar in the education system. And again, and I'm not knocking educators, because most of us in our lives will remember a teacher that impacted us.
Oh yes,
for sure.
Oh, yes.
And it wasn't because they got us through an exam, which is irony, right? You don't remember the teachers that got you through an exam. You remember the teachers that impacted you.
Yeah.
So this is not a knock on the educators as much as sometimes is the system that they're having to, or the constraints they're having to work with. But
well, certain people who guided us enabled us to make more sense of the system. I think it's part of it.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I'm intrigued. What time is your event next week?
Oh, it's 12:30 next Tuesday.
Okay. And I guess having a voice that understands the context of the listener rather than the speaker is always going to be helpful.
I think for everyone, not just for women. I mean, that workshop's for anybody who feels that they could say things better and maybe get more engagement from their target markets.
Yeah. No,
because we have we all have the way of communicating that we may have had for decades, but it doesn't occur to us that we may need to change a few things because the world has changed.
Yes, yeah. And try not to be too noisy. I always think of that poem Desiderata. Right? Yeah. Go gently. There's a lot to be, and I guess partly as you get older, you kind of feel a bit more genteel. But
there's a need to simplify things.
You go, girl.
I'm more outrageous and I plan to get worse. That's the plan.
Genteel is not the word I would use to describe myself.
Sorry. Great segue. but yeah, just having a thoughtful, gentle disposition. It's a lot more things move better than the brute force.
Well, I think it depends what you're up against with that, though.
That's true too. Hence the Molotov cocktails in the corner.
I'm collecting bottles.
Now.
Viva la revolution. But that's what we need. I mean, we need something to kick everybody out of their bubbles.
Yes, there is. Yeah, there is there is a place for that, and then the both and kicks in on that too, right? Because it has its own issues in terms
Sure.
of how you do it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there is definitely there's lots of ways to revolt. I think there's lots of ways to revolt. I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that that the the city of Minneapolis has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh,
and
good. Okay.
that is a powerful message.
Yeah, for sure.
That someone that the world is watching and listening and empathizing, and so yeah, there's ways to bring around that sort of radical change. And when I say radical, I mean it in the proper word, the root of the word being root.
Yeah.
There's a fundamental change.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about going off on a tangent, but having something that comes from a root basis of, again, Paul said, being human. If we stop long enough and realize our humanity, if we don't realize our humanity, the next 100 years is going to be it's not going to work.
No, nothing's working now, really.
There's
another short story there. Ways to revolt or ways to be revolting.
I'm going to capture that one.
Can't hijack that. That's mine.
To revolt or be revolting.
On that gentle note, folk, I am going to excuse myself. Thank you. It's been fantastic.
Yes, it's been great. I'm actually I normally wrap up top of the bottom of the hour, so we're right at it. But I'm going to hang on with Annie one last bit. If you got 2 more minutes, Annie, I definitely want to pick your brains. Thank you, Margaret. You go off.
Thank you so much for creating the forum.
All right, you go off and do your thing, girl. Don't be genteel about it.
Dance in the lounge before I do my meditation.
There you go. All right, take care, Margaret. I can
throw her out, can't you, Steve?
I can kick you out. There she goes. She's gone.
Oh, this has been fantastic. It's been exactly what I've needed, and I think you've created a monster. I'm a water cooler addict now, as well as everything else.
But it's so organic, and it's so people have said, if I was tracking for numbers, I would probably promote harder or have a theme or have a content, and then I'm thinking, I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to create inertia.
It's just a joyful thing to just connect with people and then see, in how many different directions a conversation can go from the point where it starts. And, when you look at where you end up and everything that's been in there is huge. I've already got like half a dozen story ideas.
Some classic. There's some great prompts in there. I tell you. Are you revolting or revolting?
Yeah.
I love that one. But Annie, thanks so much for joining. I'm glad you're on the mend, and at least I know if you're laughing that your airways are getting better. So
yes, well, laughter is the best medicine, isn't it? And it's been in very short supply over recent months. So this has been a real tonic, Steve. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you for being there, and certainly share. Put a link in the notes to your event next Tuesday.
Okay, how do I do that?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to do that?
Oh, you can just put a link on the live event, or you can message me. You can
I'll do that.
Yeah, DM me.
I'm a technophobe.
That's right. DM
all I
me.
can do to bust in here today.
I'm glad you made it. But it's the same link each week. So if you got in this week, it's the same one. Pretty much the same one every time. Paul, thanks for joining in on the chat. Really appreciated your input, bro. And
silent but deadly, Paul.
So that's how Paul operates, man.
Yeah.
He's deep.
Fantastic.
He's a deep one. Really stealthy, but he's deep. So I appreciate you, man. And we'll catch up soon. But thanks again, Annie. For those watching the replay, come and check us out. Water Cooler every Wednesday. All right then.